Last night, lawmakers in Washington, they held a rare primetime hearing to discuss the growing tensions between the U.S. and China. This was a bipartisan effort to discuss the top threats that China poses to the U.S. The panel heard from a human rights activist as well as former national security leaders as well. Joining us from Washington, D.C. to break down what we have learned from these hearings, reporter Doug Luzader for us this morning. Doug, good morning. So,
good morning.
You had this primetime congressional hearing. We're talking about these threats from China. We've had a lot of stories in the news recently about it. What was the main topic you think that got discussed the most?
Well, we've heard a lot of talk this week about this theory that the coronavirus leaked from a lab in China. There was a report in the Wall Street Journal earlier in the week that the Department of Energy had reached that conclusion, that that was the most likely origin of the virus. And then we heard yesterday the FBI director, Christopher Wray, publicly acknowledging it for the first time, that this is what the FBI believes as well. Now, China didn't take this too kindly. They think this is politicizing the origin of the virus. They're calling this a smear. But at the same time, it is kind of a growing kind of wedge between the U.S. and China at a time when there are a lot of flashpoints, including, issues with trade, surveillance, that spy balloon that was shot down after it crossed most of the United States, efforts to deal with TikTok, that very popular app that's sending a lot of data potentially back to the government of China, although there's some question about that. The company itself, TikTok, denies that that's happening. Nevertheless, it is an issue that came up during this hearing last night.
I mean, it doesn't sound like there's a ton of solutions at this point. I mean, what can be done?
Well, as far as TikTok is concerned, for instance, there is an effort now to remove it from government-owned devices. That's easy enough, I suppose, but there's also talk about a nationwide ban. That's going to be pretty difficult to implement, just given the popularity of this act. As far as the surveillance issue is concerned, the U.S. feels, the administration feels, they've sent a pretty strong message after shooting down that surveillance balloon. Nevertheless, though, was that a strong enough response? I mean, these are among the questions here on Capitol Hill about how we move forward with a country in which we have kind of this emerging Cold War, and yet at the same time we have very deep economic ties, and that makes this even more complicated.
It really does. Doug Luzader, thank you. Reporting live from Washington, D.C. this morning.